Hello everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing an updated bookshelf tour. So I know I said a couple of months ago that I wasn't planning on doing an updated bookshelf tour this year. I just initially hadn't felt like it had been long enough, but a couple of you guys have asked for one. Also, I realized that all of the shelves just about look different from the last time I filmed a bookshelf tour. And also I put all my Halloween and fall decorations on my shelves and I was like, wait, I kind of want to immortalize this in a way. So I figured, why not do a bookshelf tour now? I thought that could just be really fun. So let us get into it. I will answer just a couple of questions in the intro. My shelves are the iconic but basic but essential Billy bookshelves. I love them. They get the job done. I'm a big fan. And then the lights on my shelves are like just basic Christmas lights. You can probably find them anywhere, especially now as we are moving into the holiday season. I know we're not there yet, but like Christmas stuff is out already, so like you should be able to find some if you want some. So let's just get into it. I'm not gonna go through every single book individually because that does not sound fun, but I will be pulling out special editions and just editions that I find notable. So let's just get into it. I'm so excited to go through my shelves with you guys. All right, we're gonna start in the top right, go down, then we'll go over, go down, go over, go down. So that's kind of the order of this. The first shelf that we have here is not really much of a bookshelf at all. It really just holds this Studio Ghibli art book, which I love the illustration on the cover of so much, so I decided to display it. And then I also have this beautiful plant, which I watered last night, but it is still looking a little bit sad, so don't mind that. Then moving down again, I do have my mass market paperback shelf. I had this kind of shelf last year, but I'm pretty sure a lot of the books on this are different from the last time I talked to you. So first of all, I decided earlier this year to buy all of the mass market paperback tie-in editions of the Twilight series because I'm insane. I just think these covers are hilarious, honestly, and I really wanted them in my possession. And they were also really cheap, as you could probably imagine. And then I do also have a bunch of the Discworld mass market paperbacks because I think the illustrations on these are absolutely stunning. I really like the one for Witches Abroad because they're in like a swamp. But I think my favorite out of all of these might be the one for Mort. I just think Death riding this horse and all the bats on this cover as well is just so cool. I'll fix that later. Then moving down, we have my Infernal Devices shelf. Obviously, TID is one of my favorite series ever, so it does kind of have its own shelf. So I have the Illumicrate versions of it, which are my prized possessions. I also have some paperbacks of it. I also have the manga, I think they're manga. It could be manhwa. I'm not 100% sure which one these are, but obviously I had to acquire all three of these because why not have my favorite series in every form I possibly can? I feel like I've been getting better about like buying multiple editions of certain series and such, but this one, I can't be stopped. Then moving down, I basically have a white, black, and red shelf. So we have the Twilight series. I used to have different dust jackets on these, but I kind of just wanted a break from them, so I put the original ones back on. I also recently found the first volume of the Twilight graphic novel at half price, and I decided for whatever reason that I needed it, so obviously I had to get it. I just think it's hilarious, honestly, and I really wanted it. And then I also have one of my favorite Halloween decorations on it. I don't know if you guys want to know, but like I love this little guy. He's so cute. He does light up, which you can hardly see, but he always just sits here and hides the crack where I don't like have a book. Also, if you see my shelves looking a little bit dusty, please don't mind it. I'm so sorry. But these last two shelves on this entire shelf are kind of like graphic novels and manga and picture book kind of things. So this first shelf here holds all my volumes of Yona of the Dawn because obviously this is my favorite manga series, but I do have two other volumes of manga that were so kindly gifted to me by Cass. The first one being the first volume of her favorite manga series, which is Frieren. I think I've been pronouncing it wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's Frieren. And then also she went to Japan last year and she gifted me this Japanese version of Spy Family, which I think is so fun. It also has a little dust jacket, which I'm still just like amazed by. Like, it's so cool. And then we have a recent addition as far as my Yona of the Dawn collection, and that is the stunning cover of volume 42. It's so beautiful and autumnal. I love it. And we also have the back looking stunning as well. I am just such a big fan of this cover and just the art style for this series in general. And then I also have all of my Alice Oseman books here. So I have Loveless Radio Silence and then the entirety of the Heartstopper collection. Some of them are the US editions, some of them are the UK editions. I didn't realize that they were different heights and they kind of looked different when I first started collecting this series, but now I kind of like how it looks. It adds like a little bit of variation, you know? And then I also have this really cute little pin of Nick's dog, Nellie, which I think is adorable. Here's a little close-up of Nellie. I just love her so much. So she sits right with the rest of the, if I could get it to sit, graphic novels. And then down here we have the bottom shelf. My Switch does reside on there currently, so we don't have to look at her for too long. But here we have like some picture books. We have graphic novels and manga and, you know, like some regular books too. It's kind of a mishmash, really. But a couple of my personal favorites on this shelf are the Howl's Moving Castle picture book. Did I need this? Absolutely not, but I love it. Also, earlier this year, I did acquire a copy of Over the Garden Wall Distillatoria. I obviously love Over the Garden Wall. I talk about it too much. Literally, the cardigan I'm wearing today is Over the Garden Wall inspired. But I really love this comic when I read it last Halloween. I feel like it is the most true to the show out of the comics that I've read so far, and I just really, really loved it, so I really wanted a copy. Then also a graphic novel that I read last year and is a new favorite is Garlic and the Vampire by Brie Paulson. It's just so freaking cute. And I will probably, I'm not doing a very good job at flipping through this. I will be doing a reread of this year as well, which I cannot wait for. And then at the top of the next shelf, we have a shelf that has not changed too much, but it has, you know, changed a little bit. And that is, of course, my red, white, and black shelf. I've had this shelf on my bookshelves for so many years, honestly. I just can't bear to get rid of it. It holds all of my Victoria Schwab books. Honestly, shout out to her for having such a stunning color palette for all of her books. Then we have the Shadow and Bone series, we have the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, and we also have a couple of fun additions to the shelf up here. The first one being this stunning edition of If We Were Villains. I'm sure a lot of you guys know I absolutely love If We Were Villains. And then I finally acquired this really tiny edition of The Course of True Love and First Dates by Cassandra Clare. This is a little bind up of one of the stories out of the Bane Chronicles. I do have the little blue one on the shelf below this, but I've been wanting to get my hands on this one and I finally did. And then lastly on this shelf, I do have this beautiful edition of The Night Circus. I read this last July and I really loved it, as you can tell by my egregious amount of annotations, honestly. But this is the beautiful Halloween edition. Again, I love the white with the red sprayed pages. I think they're so cool. And I think in my last bookshelf tour, I talked about how this is one of my favorite editions on my shelves, but I hadn't read it yet. But now that I've read it, I feel like I can fully say that this is one of my favorite editions on my shelves. Moving down, we have just honestly a random conglomeration of books. The only thing that they have in common is the fact that they're like green and blue-ish. I do have a couple of editions that I really, really love on this shelf. The first one being the Illumicrate edition of A Study in Drowning. Look at this, it's so pretty. There is a dust jacket that is supposed to go on this one. I think it's behind some of the books on my shelves somewhere. I do have it, don't worry. But I just love the naked hardcover of this. I think it's so beautiful. Very light academia feeling, even though this is kind of like a dark academia type of story. But it also has these beautiful sprayed edges. I love them so much. Then I have that really tiny version of one of the other stories from the Bane Chronicles, which is The Midnight Air, that follows James Herondale. Obviously, I've had this one for quite a while now, but I will never get rid of it. Then I have a bunch of other books. I think a lot of these I have not read like from this stack, but I'm really excited to get to a lot of them, especially The Sword of Kaigen by Emma Wong. I really, really want to read this one before the end of the year, and I feel like I will do that. Probably. And then moving over here, we obviously have one of my favorite series, and that is the Emily Wilde series by Heather Fawcett. I have these stunning UK editions. These are some of my favorite book covers ever, and they speak to me on a molecular level. I think the one for the Map of the Otherlands remains my favorite out of the three, just because I love the green. I love the autumnal, wintry imagery that is going on this cover, and I also just love this book so dearly, so it's definitely one of my favorites. Then moving down one more shelf, we have what used to be a favorite bookshelf. Now I think it's just kind of like more blue and green books. Honestly, it's just like the hardcover version of what's happening on the shelf above this. But we do have many, many of my favorite books on the shelf, especially these three right here. I love that they all go so well together. So we have the beautiful Kickstarter edition of Yumi and the Nightmare Painter by Brandon Sanderson. I'm absolutely obsessed with this. I love this edition, and I also just absolutely adore the book. It's one of my favorites of the year, and it has so many beautiful illustrations. I don't know if I'm showing you literally any of them, but just take my word for it. Then I also have the UK version of The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. Again, one of my favorite books ever. It's so, how many times can I call something beautiful? I don't know, but like I love this book so dearly. I also just love the UK version of this book so dearly. Like I don't know what they were doing with the US one, but like this is clearly superior. It also has the beautiful like stenciled edges, even though like you can hardly see them because I annotated this book, but I couldn't not annotate it, you know? And then I do also have the UK edition of Strange the Dreamer, but I think I've talked about this book a lot, so we won't go into it again. But also here's my dust jacket for A Study in Drowning. It just kind of resides back there. Then I do also have a couple of fun additions to the rest of the books on this shelf. The first one being the Fairy Loot edition of Howl's Moving Castle. I got this last week and I love it. Although I'm so sad because literally not even 10 minutes after I opened it, I dropped it and I like broke the dust jacket there a little bit, but we don't have to talk about it because it's so, like, even without that, it's so beautiful. I also love the sprayed pages. Obviously, I love House Moving Castle in general. And then we also have, you know, like the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. I love the UK covers for these so much. I think they're so beautiful. So have the first one, that was the third one. And then a more recent edition is this copy of Ariadne. This is the UK edition of it that I think, I don't know if this is in print anymore. I found mine on Amazon for like 15 bucks, which was a steal, let me say. I read Circe and then I decided I needed to read more Greek retelling, so I decided to go with this one. And then I do also have the beautiful UK editions of like the first 3 books in the Skyward series by Brandon Sanderson. I've read the first 2. I just have not continued on with it, but I really hope to do so. Maybe next year. I'm thinking next year would be a good time for that. Then moving down once more, I have what used to be my Infernal Devices and Last Hour shelf, but now it's kind of just like historical books, kind of. So like over here I have the Stalking Jack the Ripper series by Carrie Maniscalco that takes place in Victorian London, so it checks out. I also have randomly an Enchantment of Ravens just because it's skinny and it kind of like fit here. But then the rest of these books are all of my editions of the Infernal Devices. I think the only things that have really changed as far as like my editions go is that I put these dust jackets on some of the books. So we have this one for Chain of Gold, as you can see, and then I also have the one for Chain of Iron over here, which is so pretty. These came in the box that the Illumicrate version of Chain of Thorns came in, I believe. And I hadn't put these on the last time I did like my bookshelf tour, but now you can see them in all their glory. And then I also do have a little Shadowhunters Codex pot thing, which holds all of my lovely bookmarks. You can see all of my bookmarks from Cass. They're kind of just like chilling up front there. Then moving down, I have all of my Brandon Sanderson books, and I also have these editions of the Lord of the Rings that I recently bought because I think they're so beautiful. And you must look at them, even though I've already shown you all of these. But they're just so cool. I love the art style. I love the colors on them so much. They look so nice together. And they're also just like really high quality books. Like they've got nice pages. They're illustrated. I honestly couldn't recommend highly enough. And then these are also like a recent purchase because I found the like tiny little hardback editions of Edge Dancer and what's the other one? Dawn Sharp, that's right. These are the 2 novellas that are in the Stormlight archive. I found them at half price a couple weeks ago and I decided to pick them up because I just think they're so cute. Like they're so small. And I also just really like how they look on the shelf. Then we have the stunning floppy Stormlight archive paperbacks. We all know how I feel about those. We have all of the Mistborn books, Era 1 and Era 2. More UK editions, and then we also have, behind my little kit lens for my camera there, the Kickstarter edition of Tress of the Emerald Sea. Honestly, Tress, not my favorite. However, this edition certainly is a favorite because I love the green. I love the gold. It's too good, and I'm very happy that I do have it. And then also, this isn't book related, but I found this at the thrift store last year, and I think they're so cute. Look at these little frog guys. I love them. And then this bottom shelf is honestly looking a bit sparse. Like, I don't know what to do with this little section over here, so I just have this little ghost guy hanging out. Maybe I'll turn him on. That's kind of nice. But basically, we have pink books and some, like, not pink books. I don't know what the vibe for this shelf is, honestly. It's kind of just what was left. But I have the beautiful UK edition. Whoops, I dropped my tiny sword. I hate when that happens. The beautiful UK edition of Belladonna. I love the pink on this so much. I also have my Folio Society edition of House Moving Castle, which I don't think I had the last time I did my shelf tour. So let me take it out. But we have the little moving castle on the front with Sophie and like this really pretty spider web in the back. It's also illustrated, which again, I don't think you're seeing literally any of the illustrations. But this was my little gift to myself when I hit 50,000 subscribers last year, and I just love it so dearly. Like, look at these little potions. They're so cute. I just love like the big illustrations and the little illustrations because all of the chapters have like different illustrations. There we go. Nice. And then in the dark recesses over here, I keep just like some journals. Really, I didn't know what to do with them. So we have like my very first reading journal ever from 2020. What a time, honestly. And then we have, I think this is my like second reading journal from 2021 through like midway through 2022. So if it would flip, it doesn't want to flip. It's too thick, honestly. Like, this looks insane. It's so chunky. Then moving back up to the top of my other skinny shelf, we have another one of my almost favorite bookshelves. Again, it's not my favorite, but it's almost there. And that is my Veronica Speedwell shelf, as well as the one other murder mystery that I have. But you guys know how I feel about the Veronica Speedwell series. It is one of my absolute favorites. Earlier last year, I decided to ditch my paperbacks and collect them all in hardcover, and I think they look so nice. Although I was so committed to getting all of these in hardcover that I made a dust jacket for the first book in the series. Maybe that's just crazy. I don't know, but I'm happy I have it. Oh, what do I have here? Oh, that's right. I have a little magnifying glass here. It's so cute. Then moving down, I have more tiny books, but these are like tiny versions of classics, really. I'm gonna move this plant because it is quite voluminous, shall we say. Although, look at this. I got this cute little stake for it from the Renaissance Fair last week. I think it's adorable. But on this shelf, I just have a bunch of like mass market paperbacks. So I have this one for The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. This is one of my favorite spooky stories. I think I've shown you the rest of these probably in my last one. So we have just like little black classics. We have some poetry books. We have a vintage classics version and then like some penguin ones down there. But I just think all of these look so nice together. Like they're all like beige or orange. And I just really like this little stack. Now this is the moment you've all been waiting for. Really, it's just the moment that I've been waiting for because this is my favorite shelf. Because this is my Dark Academia shelf. I know Cersei is not Dark Academia. This is the one book that is not Dark Academia on the shelf. But it just looks so nice next to the copper of If We Were Villains. But I just love how this shelf looks together. I feel like I have, you know, the perfect kind of knickknacks for it. Let me talk about the knickknacks though, because I'm really excited about both of these. I found this little like pillar thing. I think it's supposed to be to hold a candle, or they might have just had a candle in it at the thrift store for whatever reason. But you know, very Greek, very Dark Academia. I painted it this really like off-white, almost beigey kind of color, and it fits so perfectly. And then I also found this little like Greek bust lady from Michael's in their Halloween section, and I thought she looked perfect there. Well, actually, she's probably not Greek. Then we have this really pretty edition of If We Were Villains. It's got the stunning like copper foiling on it. It's got the black sprayed pages. I also just love the color of like the hardcover for this with like the black text. It's so good. This might be like my top favorite edition of all of the books on my shelves. And then I do have that sitting on a little If We Were Villains puzzle. I'm pretty sure this came in the September Illuma crate last year. I have done this a couple times just because it's a really small, low commitment puzzle that I can do if I'm like listening to an audiobook and I want something to do. It's really nice. And then obviously we have, you know, the rest of the books on the shelves. Those are notable too. We have this beautiful edition of Cersei, which I read in August and I really, really loved. Also look under the dust jacket at that. I also have In These Hallowed Halls, which is like a short story or an anthology. I also have Vicious, which I know some people don't necessarily count as Dark Academia, but it looks nice on the shelf, so there we go. I have Babel, obviously, and Bunny. It doesn't really go with this shelf because it's got a lot of pink and peach going on, but my plant normally hides this, so it works out well. Then down here we have my witchy romance whatever kind of shelf. So I have this really fun cauldron that used to turn on. Oh, it does still kind of turn on, but you can like see little, look, there's a star, little moon. Although I think I left this on too long a couple days ago and it might be burning out a bit, but that's fine. So we have like the Wicked Deep. We've got A Discovery of Witches. We have My Love, the XX, although I'm going to take this off the shelf because I am doing a reread of this and I need that. And then I also did get the Fairy Loot edition of the XX, which is very pretty. I love the ombre sprayed pages. It's also got a little design under the dust jacket, which is so cute. Then moving down, the shelf is honestly a bit uninspired. It kind of just is YA fantasy that is green-ish. So we obviously have the Folk of the Air series. Nothing new there, but I did last year acquire this really pretty edition of How the King of Elfheim Learned to Hate Stories. I had a bunch of Pango bucks, so I decided to go ahead and buy this one because I've wanted it for so long. And I got rid of my white copy of it, so I'm not crazy and I don't have two copies of it, don't worry. But I think this was the Owl Crate edition of it, maybe? But I just think it's so beautiful. It's got like teal foiling on the dust jacket. It's also got a reversible dust jacket. So, you know, that's kind of fun. And then I don't really think anything else on this shelf is that notable aside from this cool sword. Oops, if I could like not drop it, it's kind of hard to hold. But I believe this is a replica sword that Illuma Crate did in their October box last year, maybe? But it's for the Folk of the Air series, so it's so cute. I love the little oak leaves on the hilt and such. I'm just so happy to have that, and I'm happy that I can display it, even though it does do that a lot of the time. And then the bottom shelf on this one is very much the same. Oh, Winnie is coming in. All right. But this just holds all of like my Greek lit stuff. I have a random Percy Jackson book. I also have my random editions of the Lord of the Rings that I read for the first time, and I can't bear to get rid of them, but they kind of just reside there. But there's really nothing that interesting on this shelf aside from maybe this, because this was not for my Greek lit stuff that I did in undergrad. This is just like something my parents had, so it's mine now. It's a whole section on the dragon. It's kind of fun. I wish it was illustrated though. Oh, never mind. All right, cool. Look at that. Illustrations of fabulous creatures. That's so fun. Then moving to the top of my last shelf, we have the representation of one of my biggest vices, and that is buying editions of classics, even though I never read them. But I have so many, and I don't read enough of them to justify having this many. But I also figure with classics, you know, like they're classics. They'll stick around forever, probably, so I'll read them eventually. But anyway, let me move Benny out of the way. Benny's a long time bookshelf ornament. I'm pretty sure a couple of you guys named him when I got him because I asked for name suggestions. So if that was you, shout out to you. But we just have all of my classics here. I'm pretty sure they're in publication order for the most part. I think so. But I definitely have made a lot of additions to the shelf. If you guys want to know, over here, this is an edition of Emma that I read this summer, and I do love the annotations. It's so extra for like absolutely no reason, but it was really fun. I also have this little edition of The Mask of the Red Death by Edgar Allan Poe, which maybe I should read soon. I feel like it would be a good idea to read it soon. Maybe I'll keep this down here so I'll remember to do that. Then we have a couple of other Penguin cloth-bound ones. We have the one for the Hound of the Baskervilles, because I just love the moths on this. This very much gives me autumnal vibes, and I'm planning to read this soon, so hopefully that'll deliver. Then I also have this little edition of The Lottery by Shirley Jackson. I've loved the 2 Shirley Jackson books that I've read, so I really want to read The Lottery. And then I also recently acquired a copy of The Anthropocene Reviewed by John Green. I listened to this on audio at the end of 2021 maybe, and I really, really loved it. It has stayed my favorite nonfiction, but that's probably only because I don't normally reach for nonfiction, but this one was really cool. I liked it a lot. And then moving down, we do have my vampire shelf, even though a couple of these books are not vampire books. I think it's these 3 that are not, no, these 4, like this one and that one. But like the rest of them are vampire-esque. My last bookshelf tour, my vampire shelf was just like one of the small cubes, but she has expanded. She has grown. So over here we have like more fantasy romance kind of vampire stories. So we have like some Carissa Broadbent books and this an arc for Hunting Prince Dracula by Carrie Maniscalco. I also have this really sad edition of Dracula. This is one of my favorite editions of Dracula, but like the copy is just so beat up, and it was like this when I bought it, so this is not my fault. But I've contemplated many times like buying a new copy of this because it's so nice. This is also missing the French flaps it's supposed to have. Like they're just gone. Like I don't know what the person did to this who owned this first. Like this one's just like taped on. I don't know. But also it's well loved, and that is kind of nice in its own way. But the cover art of this, top tier, A+, love it so much. It's done by Ruben Toledo, and they've done a couple of other like gothic classics, and the covers, oh, they are so stunning. Like if you like gothic illustrations, you gotta check them out. And then I just have like a couple of other things, most notably, I guess, since the last time I talked to you, is I got this cool edition of Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. I'd really like to give this a reread, but I remember really enjoying it the first time I read it, and it's not very long either, so I feel like I should do that. Also, I love that Ray Bradbury's author picture on so many of his books is him with his cat. I'm gonna assume it's his cat. I don't see why it wouldn't be his cat, but I just think it's so funny. Then we have the essential vampire books. We got Fangs, we got Dracula, we got Carmilla, Interview with the Vampire, and the oh so important Vampire Diaries series. No, honestly, this is awful. Series is so awful, but like I will keep the first one for the vibes, obviously. And then I have this cool edition of Dracula over here, which I have talked about many, many times. I tracked this down just because this is my favorite cover of Dracula ever, closely followed by this one, which is also very cool. This one is illustrated by Edward Gorey. I love Edward Gorey's illustrations so much. Like he is definitely my favorite spooky illustrator. I mean, just, oh, it's so cool. Got Dracula on the back. We have these really cool end pages as well. I mean, I love it. And then the last thing I want to point out on this shelf is also vampire related because it is quite literally Dracula himself. I know this belonged to my parents. I don't know where it's from. He's also missing a hand, so we don't have to talk about that. But you know, he just accompanies my vampire shelf so well. I think it's just such a nice little addition. Then moving down one, we have like a proper horror shelf. The one above is like mainly just vampires, but this kind of just encompasses it all. So we have some Stephen King books. These are just like some personal favorites of mine. Kind of. I don't know if I would call it a personal favorite. This is more just like an accomplishment that I actually read it, but I do really like Misery and Salem's Lot. These are 2 of my favorites, as well as Pet Sematary. I think Pet Sematary is my favorite of all of the ones that I've read, but I think I've enjoyed just about every Stephen King book I've read, aside from The Shining. I did not love The Shining, like the book. I like the movie, which feels like blasphemy, but I don't like the book, which is why it's not on here. But I've got like some Darcy Coates books. I have like What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher over here. I have The Vampire Lestat by Anne Rice. It just doesn't really fit the vibe of the vampire shelf. I have Graveyard Shift by Emma Rio, which I've read recently. I have, you know, like some pink YA books over here. I think it's so funny that these are all pink, but I love them. So we have like The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein. We have The Invocations and House of Hollow. Keep them all together because they look really nice together. I also have The Dead Zone, which is another one of my favorite Stephen King books. I really liked this one. Cujo, not a favorite. Certainly not a favorite. But then I also have these Small Spaces quartet over here. I've read the first 3, but I really, really want to read Empty Smiles this year. And then I have Evocation by St. Gibson. I also have this cute little cat decoration, which one of my friends gave to me. I think she thrifted it for 50 cents. That's a steal, honestly, but I think he's so cute. And then moving down, I have some paperbacks. That's literally the only thing these books have in common. It's kind of just whatever fit on here. And it's slightly in rainbow order. But I don't really think I have anything like super notable on this shelf. Then moving down once more, honestly, these last 2 shelves are... they don't look bad necessarily, but I don't love how they look, but my chair is normally in front of these, so they kind of just, they look whatever. Like everything from like here over you can't see, so I kind of just like put whatever there. So we have like some YA books and such, some adult fantasy. We have The Fragile Threads of Power, which I really, really would like to read this year because it's such a beautiful edition. This is the Illumicrate edition, I think, and it's got like the really cool sprayed edges. And then the last shelf, the very last shelf, we have basically just all of my Sarah J. Maas books. We got Throne of Glass, almost all of Throne of Glass. I don't have, what's the prequel that I don't like called? The Assassin's Blade. I don't have that one, but I have the rest of them. Have ACOTAR. Then these are just like a couple of books I'm selling. I do tend to keep books I'm selling like sitting behind my chair, or if I have room on the shelf, I'll set them there. So we have like those there. We have like this little stack here. I do have my Pango link down below if you guys want any of these. And then lastly, I have this really cool like mythology index thing. It was my parents', so I have no clue where it's from, but it's very cool. It's called Fandex, if anybody wants to know. Who do we want to learn about? I want to find one that I don't know about. Oh, Iris is the goddess of the rainbow and a messenger of the gods. So there's your fun fact for today. Alright, so we've officially arrived at the end of the video. Those are all of the books, almost all of the books that I own. Bear in mind, not every single book I own is on this shelf. I do have quite a few like kind of dotted around my room in random places. So if you think something's missing, it's probably just out and about in the room. But those are how I've chosen to display all of the books on my shelves. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I love showing off my shelves because I do spend a lot of time organizing, reorganizing, moving things around. Literally every time I get bored, I'm like, what if I move this shelf? And like, what if I did that? And it's just so fun that way. So I really hope you guys enjoyed getting to take a look at my shelves and how they are organized now. I also hope you guys enjoyed the little bits and bobs of Halloween and fall decor out and about. I would love to know down below how you guys organize your shelves. I think mine are mainly organized by genre, and then within the genre they're either organized by like color or specific topic or whatever. I'm not really too concerned about the organization on my bookshelves. If it looks good, I'm gonna leave it that way, but that's like generally how I like to do things. But I'd love to know how you guys organize yours. Also, before we go, I would like to thank everybody over on my Patreon. If you're ever looking for more content from me, that's always linked down below. But with that, I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you again so much for watching. I'm so thankful that I have these shelves, and I'm so thankful that I'm able to share it with you guys, and you guys are at least kind of interested in it. So I hope you're all having an amazing Monday or whatever day it is that you're watching this video, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye.